My name is Jeff Scholfield. I'm an artist based in the Detroit metro area. I work with sustainable themes. What you're seeing here is an installation of weeds and wildflowers that I found in my neighborhood, and I've suspended them in recycled jars. The reason they're suspended is to express something about the fragility of plant life. What you see me doing is suspending the plants in resin. This is to protect the plants as much as possible, to preserve them into the future. Also to enhance the forms and the colors, because it is the landscape. This is the cityscape, or at least the natural part of the cityscape where we live. I'd like to show you a little bit how I create these jars. For me, it's a two-step process. First, I fix the plant in the jar by pouring a little bit at the bottom at the base. Then the next day, I pour in the rest of the resin all the way to the very top. And then once it's dried, you never see the seam. So it's an interesting technique to use to get various different effects. This is work in progress, and the working title is Core Samples, because what I'm trying to express is the ground, the plants that we find in the neighborhood, plastic found items that people have discarded, concrete, plaster of Paris, and mud that I found here in the neighborhood. And I stack them up, much like core samples, to try to express all these different elements that come from the cityscape compressed together as a core sample. So what I'll demonstrate is how I work with the plaster of Paris inside the cans. And I've already labeled the things that are inside, so I keep a running track of the different materials that are in here. Even though the process is really quite intuitive, I don't know what the result is really going to be, but I do need to control it a little bit so that I know which elements I'm using and in which order, so that I get some variety in the artwork. So this is the plaster of Paris that I'm using. It comes out with a very white kind of finish to it, which contrasts very nicely with other materials, including stucco or concrete that I use in other layers. And so it's really just a matter to pour this in, not very large quantities, kind of a thing. Just let it go in naturally. I use relatively short pieces of cylinder so that I don't get too much splatter. I don't want the materials to be hitting the sides too much, because then, you know, when you're done, you need to have a nice, I prefer to have a nice clean effect. So here I can tap it in to get a nice horizontal surface. And then here I'm putting in the green on top while it's still wet, so that this layer will be nicely adhering to the plaster, so that it all holds together. Okay, so this is looking pretty good, and he's ready for the next layer, which I'll do tomorrow once this has dried. So when one of the molds is complete, then that's the chance to see what I've really got. And I've already been noting as I go along, so that I control the various layers. I know this one's different from that one, etc. But I don't know what's really inside. It's not until you open it up that you can see what you've really got. And so here I'm going to open up the mold, which is just a cardboard mold, kind of a thing, and have a good look and see what I've finally done with this particular piece. And as you can see, he's got nice colors to him. The green plastic pieces and the blue rope go very well together, and you can see the wood twigs on this layer and up above, and there's also a view of some of the green as we go through here. So he's a very nice piece, it's very graphic. The layers in between them are nicely defined, and here's a layer of mud. It's not the same color as the rest of the concrete. So for me, it's a very successful piece, and I'm very pleased with this result. So I'm pleased to show you these two examples of my artwork, and you can see more pieces of my work on my art website, jeffschofield.net.